Good afternoon, and thank you for joining our October Lunch and Learn series. I'm Tina Norris, and I'm the Family Engagement Specialist here at PTSI, and we're delighted that you have joined us for our first series on tutoring tips. A couple of things that I wanted to share with you this morning. If you have questions for Dr. Levi Shackelford, please utilize the chat session or the chat box. Since we are down to just 30 minutes for this presentation, she will follow up with you individually should you have questions and need to speak with her directly. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, there will be a pop-up survey, and I would ask that you take time and complete that for us as well. Your feedback is valuable, and we really, really want to hear from you. Again, today is the first of our three-part series. Today we'll be talking about tutoring tips, and then on October the 13th, we have homework and organizational strategies, and then on October the 20th, we have teaching, keeping kids engaged. So you're in for a treat today, and at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zipporah Levi Shackelford.
Thank you, Tina. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. I know everybody is multitasking and has a lot of different things going on. So I thank you for joining me for this half hour where I will be talking about tutoring tips. So in this discussion, I will go over what tutoring is as well as what it is not, the different types and formats of tutoring, what makes a good tutor, and making sure that you find one that works for you and your family, how to measure effectiveness and progress when you're working with a tutor, tips for getting a good price, because tutoring can, be costly, information on when you may need to reconsider or when you need the tutor, and then signs that your tutor is not working out and you may need to look for another one. So those are the different things that we'll be talking about. And before I get in, I just wanted to introduce myself. So I am Dr. Zipporah Levi Shackelford. I am the founder and the behavior and education consultant for Creative Approach Development Center, which is in Richmond, Virginia. And we provide a variety of services. We do the different webinars and workshops like this one on a variety of topics related to behavior management, academics, parenting, just a wide gamut of topics. We provide the one-on-one behavior life coaching, the group workshops, and we do lots of inclusivity and teamwork consulting and training. Our main areas of focus are mental health, intellectual and developmental disabilities, those with dual diagnosis, and then leadership development. And you can always visit our website to find out more information or email me for more information. So getting into the topic, what is tutoring? So tutoring is defined as a person helping an individual with learning a subject or a topic, but it also can be a skill. And they do this by providing individualized instruction. So when thinking about a tutoring session, what it should be is procedure oriented, which means that they focus on teaching the how to get to this point versus answer oriented, where it's just focused on getting the answers for an assignment or a specific task. It should be a positive experience versus being stressful and traumatic. And then it should be productive and organized versus being random and unorganized. And I'll go more into that as we continue. So there's different formats for tutoring. The traditional format that we are we think of the most is that one-on-one in-person sessions, and this can be done by privately hiring someone or by signing your child up at a tutoring center. Because of technology, we now have online tutoring, and then another format would be like your supplemental courses or like a group tutoring session where it's several students focused on learning a specific topic or skill. There are 6 types of tutoring. So there's the remediation tutoring, which is, again, kind of like the one that we think of most when we think of tutoring. And this is where the tutor is contacted to help the student master specific content because they're struggling with it and they need to catch up. Coaching style tutoring focuses on helping with the learning skills. So this type of tutoring is a lot of what I do. It helps teach the organization, the study skills, test taking skills, so that the student, is able to apply this in the classroom and across subjects. So it's not focusing on a specific topic or class. Support style tutoring is a combination of the remediation and the coaching, and that's what I highly recommend because it's not just focusing on teaching a subject, it's also teaching, again, the organization, the study skills, the how to process and break down information so that the student is able to apply those skills and strategies in other classes and with other content. Intervention style tutoring is for students that have fallen behind even more, and for those that have a learning challenge or learning disability, and this is for those that are falling drastically behind. A lot of times we see the intervention style tutoring with like reading. Enrichment style tutoring are for students that are on cue for where they need to be with the subject, but they want to get ahead. A lot of times we see this with older students, with your high school students, that you may be trying to get their GPA up higher so that they can get into a specific college or qualify for a scholarship. So the enrichment style or tutoring is for students that has a good grasp on their study skills and organization, as well as the different content and subjects, but you want them to get ahead. And then the test prep is the style of tutoring that focuses mainly on like studying and learning the different tricks for being successful with the SATs and the GRE for the master's level, and even SOL testing. So those are the 6 different types of tutoring. So what makes a good tutor, and how do you know that, or how do you find one that works for you and your child? So the number one thing is that the person has experience in the topic that they are trying to help your child with. A plus is that they have experience teaching, but keep in mind, it doesn't have to be traditional teaching. It may be a person that is going to help your child with math, and they may have never been a math teacher, but they worked on teams in their job, which helped them learn how to communicate effectively and break things down. So don't just feel like it has to be somebody with specific teaching experience. Just kind of talk with them and see how they utilize the subject that they're teaching your child, because that also counts as that teaching experience. Somebody who is patient, somebody who has a personality. Your child is going to be working one-on-one most likely with this tutor. So you want someone that has a personality to make the sessions a little bit more enjoyable. Those that have a shared interest as your child is great because it helps them to build that rapport and again, make the sessions more interesting. And then those that are organized and they have ideas and access to activities that supplement the learning. So you don't want a person who doesn't really have a game plan in mind and each session is just working on the homework. You want somebody who is able to sprinkle in different activities to kind of supplement the focused topic so that it's a thorough session. And that segues into this, someone who has a system in place. So not only do they have different activities in mind and access to different activities, whether it's worksheets or some kind of hands-on activity, or even a game that supplements the content, but they also have a game plan in how to measure progress, and they have a system for communicating with you to keep you in the loop. Do they do this at the end of the session? Do they provide you with some kind of a written report? What is their system? And how do they measure growth with your child? Very important that the person's reliable and consistent, and then somebody who's professional. So one question that I get asked a lot is when, how do I know if I need a tutor for my child? So the number one, most obvious answer is if your student's grades are falling, but they're falling even if the work is getting done. Because a lot of times the student's grades will fall, but it's because they're not completing the assignment or turning in the assignment. But if your child is really working hard and they're completing and turning in all their assignments and their grades are still falling, then that is a good cue that, a tutor may be needed. If you notice that your child is starting to become very anxious about going to school or a specific class, that's a good indicator. If you're starting to notice that they're hiding grades and assignments and reports and report cards because they don't want you to get upset with seeing that they're struggling, that's another, thing to look for. If you notice that homework time is starting to get longer, especially in a specific subject, homework time should not take all night. If it's starting to take longer and longer, that's a sign that your child is starting to struggle. And it's important to try to get a tutor when you start noticing these signs, because the academic year builds on itself. So if they're struggling in October, you probably want to try to look for ways to get that additional help, because the work in November, December, and so on is going to build on top of that work from October. So it's kind of building a shaky foundation. So you want to intervene as soon as you can. If you notice that your child is starting to have an increase in meltdowns related to homework and assignments, related to that anxiety, their frustration levels are increasing as well as yours. If you're noticing that you hate that homework time is coming because it gets you so frustrated, you don't understand why they're not getting it, you repeated it and broken it down. If you start noticing that homework is becoming a frustrating time for you, that's a good indicator to try to get somebody else to step in and help out. If you realize that the work is starting to become confusing for you and that you yourself don't feel very confident with assisting your child. And then if you notice procrastination, homework and assignments are starting to be put off more and more, especially in a specific subject. Again, that's a good indicator that a tutor may be needed. So here are some places to look for tutors. There's your traditional tutor website. Wyzant is a good one. Varsity Tutors, Thumbtack, even Indeed.com. A lot of people think of Indeed.com for like your traditional resumes and applications for work, but a lot of times there's people who have their resumes on there advertising that they tutor. Another website is K12. And then, I was talking about the different types of tutoring, and one of the types I talked about was like the group or the classes. And for the enrichment and coaching styles, I would recommend the websites OutSchool and Skillshare. These websites both have a variety of instructors with different backgrounds and topics, and they offer different classes. With OutSchool, you have a choice of the asynchronous style classes where they kind of have the content up there and your child can work through it, or the synchronous where they meet at a specific day and time each week, and they can ask the questions. And then Skillshare is more of that pre-recorded asynchronous style learning where they have the different topics and they break it down through videos, and they a lot of times include different resources and worksheets that you can download. But those are some additional places to look, for a specific subject that may be able to help your child kind of get over some of the bumps in the road with learning a specific topic. Academic websites like BrainPop and Khan Academy, those are really good. BrainPop will break down the subjects individually into short videos, and then they provide quizzes and activities to kind of allow your child to apply what they just learned in the video. Khan Academy is kind of set up the same way, and with Khan Academy, you can also work individually with a tutor. Check out your local colleges and schools. In the colleges, there's community boards, newsletters. At school, check with other parents maybe. We all have different talents. So it may be another parent in the class that's really good at math or English that may be willing to help out your child with an area they're having a hard time with. Other students. Check out with the students in higher grades that have done really well in this subject and topic that may be able to give your child some pointers and help them break down and understand it from a different angle. And then teachers, a lot of teachers offer tutoring outside of school hours. Check your places of worship. Again, we all have different talents and strengths, and it may be somebody in your place of worship that's able to step in and help. Your social media. There's a lot of different parenting groups. You may be a part of them, making a post in your parenting group to see if any of the parents there or any of their older children may be able to help out. The different community groups, and then just a general post with your social media friends to see if anybody is able to answer some questions or help out and provide some tutoring support. Check out your coffee shops. A lot of them and the bookstores have bulletin boards where people post that they're available for tutoring, especially in the fall season. A lot of college students will post there as a way to make some extra money. And then you have your traditional tutoring organizations like Huntington and Mathnasium and Sylvan Learning Center. So once you locate somebody who you're thinking of hiring for a tutor, there's some things to ask to kind of weigh whether or not they may be a good fit. So again, you want to get some background information about their experience with the subject, their background information about teaching others. Remember, it doesn't have to be traditional standing in front of students teaching. It could be, how do you use this in your workplace setting, or how have you helped anybody else with this subject? Getting references from other families that have used them. You want to ask them about their cancellation and no-show policy for you and for them. If they have a 48-hour cancellation policy, that's not very realistic for a lot of families, because when you have children, things come up at the last minute. So you want to find out at the beginning, what is your policy for cancellations and no-shows for you and then for them, because you don't want your child prepared for a tutoring session and then the tutor is canceling at the last minute or just doesn't show up. If there is a contract, you want to, and this is usually with your traditional tutoring centers, you want information about the length. How is this contract renewed? And then again, about the cancellation. Do you need 30 days in writing to cancel? Can you do it verbally? Is there an early termination fee? Get all that information in the beginning, because if it does not work out, then that can become very costly if you're in a contract. What is needed for the sessions? Does your child need to bring a notebook, or is there a specific workbook that they should purchase? Do they need their laptop? So find that information out. And then what is the format of the sessions? Like when I provide tutoring sessions, the last 10 minutes I meet with the parent and the student explains what we worked on. And then I give the parent some resources that they can use throughout the week to help the child continue those lessons at home. So, ask those questions to find out that information at the beginning of the conversation with the tutor. So one of the biggest challenges with getting a tutor, we all want the best for our child, but the tutoring sessions can add up as an additional cost. So some of the things that I suggest to help offset the cost is trying to bundle sessions. See if instead of booking them one at a time, if you can book them 2, 3, or 4 at a time, if they can give you a little discounted rate for that. That is something that we do. We offer a discount if you book several sessions in advance. Referrals. Do they have a referral program where you can get a discount if you bring in some new customers for them? Bring a friend. If you know another child that is struggling with the same subject, can both of them get the tutoring session, and instead of it costing the price for the one student, it's a little bit higher for the 2 students, and then you and the other parent can split the cost, and it makes it a little bit lower for each of you. Again, checking out with the colleges to see if any college students are in need of credits towards certification or graduation. That's a great way for them to get their hours, and then also for your child to get the extra supports they need. The barter system, again, we all have different skills. So maybe you can get a discount or session if, you know, maybe you are really good at making flyers and you can make new flyers for the person or their small business if, and in return they offer the tutoring session. And then spacing out the sessions, seeing if instead of meeting every week or multiple times a week, is there a way you can meet every other week? Another strategy that I have put into place is one week we may meet in person and then the next week we may meet remotely. So just, you know, asking and having that conversation and seeing what the tutor is willing to work with you on. Doesn't hurt to ask. So now you've got your tutor, and you know you want to make sure that this is an effective addition for your child, because they've been in school all day and now they have to work with the tutor 1 to 2 or 3 times a week. So is this effective? And then again, it has a cost tied to it. So ways to measure, the most obvious is that you see a improvement in your child's grades. Noticing that their homework time decreases, they're able to process and get through their homework faster. They have less anxiety and frustration when they're working. You'll also notice that they have improved and increased self-esteem because they're better able to break down the process to getting to that answer. And they know that if their confidence builds in one subject, that it will most likely lead to another subject because they understand that they're able to break things down and work through them. And then you'll notice an increased level in and quality in their work completion. So those are some ways that you can measure and see if the tutoring is effective. And I also recommend with that that you give it at least one marking period to, you know, reassess and check in. So signs that the tutor is not working for your child and for you is that, you know, you've gone a couple of sessions and the tutor just does not seem to have built a rapport with your child, and they have not taken the time to know them. So it just seems really rigid. That's not a good environment, and it actually can compete with your child learning, and in fact hinder them from progressing and the sessions being effective. If the tutor is offensive or verbally abusive, again, that's, you know, pretty obvious, but it's a good indicator that this person's just not for your child and for you. If it's been more than one marking period and your child is still struggling, you know, I would suggest having that conversation and saying, you know, we've been working with you for 7, 8 weeks and we're not really seeing a difference. You know, what do you suggest? What changes do you suggest we need to make with this process so that we can start seeing some more improvements? If communication is poor with the tutor, you're not getting any updates, you're not getting any reports. When you pick up your child, you know, they don't really fill you in on what happened, then, you know, again, I feel like that's a sign that you may need to look for another tutor. If there's consistently no plan, so each session that you go, it's very unorganized, and the only time stuff gets done is if your child has homework. But on the times when your child doesn't have homework or just a little bit of homework, the session is just kind of filled with a lot of downtime. That's a sign that, you know, this tutoring session is not working. And again, so if the sessions focus only on getting the homework done or getting an assignment done, they're not filling in gaps by including additional content that's related. That's a sign that that tutor does not work for you. If you're starting to notice that there's frequent cancellations and rescheduling, and if it just doesn't feel right, then, you know, there's others out there. So don't feel like you're stuck. So we are at 12:25. We have about 5 minutes. I don't know if there are any questions. I wanted to get through that quickly. So we have a little bit time left. This last slide includes all of my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, if you want to try to brainstorm some additional places to look for a tutor, or if you have a tutor and you're, trying to figure out ways to improve communication with them, or some additional things that they should look for and work on with your child. Feel free to reach out and email me. And also with our social media, we will be posting more tips and stuff, strategies related to learning challenges and stuff as we continue into the school year, especially with the different changes for this school year related to the pandemic. So again, thank you for joining me today for this session. And do we have any questions, Tina?
I'm looking, will the recording? Yes, I will be sending out the recording later on, probably tomorrow. It will probably come out tomorrow, but I will send the slides to you today. We have to do the closed captioning on the video, but you will receive that once it's completed. Let's see, they said, thank you so much for the information.
You're welcome.
And again, if you could please, this was so informative, wonderful tips and great information.
I'm glad it was helpful.
It's always a treat to utilize her wisdom. There's so much to share. So I would encourage you again to join us for our second part of the series on organization and homework strategies. Let's see. I think that's it.
Okay.
For today. Everyone is saying thank you so much. I will also send out the flyer as well, so you'll have the dates for the next two. Don't forget to complete the pop-up screen for the survey at the conclusion. And again, thank you so much for spending this time with us, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Have a great one.
Everyone take care.